Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming to tonight's screening of Murder in the Woods. Really excited to present this film, written and directed by one of our alumni here, Garza. We're going to stream the film live through Louise's computer. And then when it's over, it runs out around 90 minutes. And then when it's over, we're going to be joined by a ton of people involved in it, more than I can list off right now. So be sure to stick around afterward. And I will turn it over to Louise to say a few words before we begin. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. Hi, everyone. Thanks for showing up and to watch this movie. Yeah, so after the writer, alum writer, producer Yelyna León is going to join us, and I'm the director, producer, Luis Garza, and some of our awesome cast members are going to be joining us. So thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed the movie. It's been a long journey, so we can talk about it after. So I'm just going to mute myself and share the movie. So I hope you enjoy it. Now,
thanks for being here, everyone. What a giant crowd. I've done panels this big in person. I have never done one on Zoom before, so it's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna give awkwardly long pauses after each person finishes speaking, just in case anyone wants to interject after a question. But other than that, we'll get to it. I want to start, because there are so many of us, though. I'd love for each of you to introduce yourself, your position. Please say so if you're an alum in any way. And maybe if you want one particularly fun memory that sticks out from this film, any step of the process. And we'll play with that for starters.
Ladies first.
Awesome. Hi, can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I am Yelyna de León. I am an alum, MFA production program. Yay, fight on Trojans. And I am the writer, producer, casting director, and I also play Carmen in the film.
Chelsea.
Oh, hey, my name is Chelsea Rendon. I play Chelsea in the film. I am also an associate producer, so I helped with casting and if anything happened on set, I was the first one that people went to before I bugged the bigger guys with any problems. And it was just fun working with friends. I had known Kade, I had been friends with Catherine, so it was fun to play with her.
Yeah.
She means beat me up. That's what she means.
Jeanette.
Hi guys, I'm Jeanette Samano. I play Fernanda in Murder in the Woods. Honestly, it was fun. I was actually a newbie. I knew Jose before this project. We actually worked on a music video years ago, and that was the only person that I knew before joining. But yeah, it was fun working with everybody.
Catherine.
Hi guys, I'm Catherine Toribio, and I play Celeste in Murder in the Woods. I knew Chelsea coming into this movie, and everybody on set sort of just became a big friend group. It was a lot of fun.
Kade.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Kade Wise. I play the character of Jule. Really fun experience. It was my first horror film. I knew Chelsea my first year when I moved out here from New York. Been out in LA about 7 years. I think I'm an Angelino now, I would say so. The question was, what was our best memory? Yeah, you saw it in the trailer. When I ripped that bong, I really ripped that bong. So my throat really felt the aftermath and the trickle effect for about 5 hours. So fun memory. No, great time playing Jule, and everybody else was wonderful.
Jordan.
Hi, my name is Jordan Diambrini, and I played Gabe. And unlike anyone else, I actually didn't know anyone from the set. But I think, my best memory was just being a part of the entire process of the film. So the whole thing was my favorite memory. That's really what I could say about that.
And I am Luis Iga, the director, producer, also edited. executive produced, and I'm distributing the movie as well. So lots of hats. And yeah, it's just been a long journey. We shot this in 2015. So memories, I have a lot, and I still have some right now that just happened. Like it's I mean, on set, I would say when I shot the first scene, which was a party scene. So I think, you know, when you realize you're making a feature film after you just recently graduated, that was pretty cool.
Luis, you forgot that you also played Danny Trejo's hands.
Oh yeah, that's right. I played right.
And you're an alum. Did you say you're an alum?
I'm an alum too. Yeah, that's true. I still live next door, so I'm not even an alum. I'm still at USC, I think.
What do you mean, Danny Trejo's hands? Like what?
You know, when you see these hands grasping the, I don't know if you saw the movie when. Yeah, those were my hands.
Nice. That's it. That's the perfect directing cameo.
Exactly.
I'm a hand actor. I'm a hand model.
So normally I would start with the conception of the film and kind of work my way through, but just because you mentioned you're distributing on your own, you know, this film is listed as having come out in 2017. I want to be a little unconventional and actually start with the distribution process that you've been through, because it's fairly unconventional for us to screen a film that's this deep into it, and I know you're doing a lot of stuff with it. So I'd love to hear sort of the process of from when you finished it to kind of how you've gone through the distribution process, and really maybe some of the festivals you've done. Did you go through that circuit first?
Yeah. So what happened was, we did go to, that was a lesson. Like, I know a lot of filmmakers are eager to put their stuff on IMDb. Don't do it, because once they give you that year, it's impossible. We've requested, even if you go to Rotten Tomatoes says 2020, everybody else says 2020, just IMDb won't change it. And it was a mistake because we didn't release it in 2017. We went through festivals. And it's also 2017, it was November. We did the Guadalajara International Film Festival here in LA, and it was in November 2017. So you got to be careful with that number. Don't rush things. And we also did a lot of, we did very well. We sold out in 24 hours. So we did a lot of press. So I think IMDb thought that it was released, and it wasn't, because if you look at the date, it says that it was commercial release, and it wasn't. It was just festivals. So yeah, so don't rush things when it comes to IMDb, because once it's there, it's like it's not even like a tattoo, because at tattoo you can still remove it now, but not that number.
But you did do the festival circuit for a while, though.
Yeah, we did festival the end of 2017 and then all of 2018. Chicago Latino, Macabre in New York, a couple in Europe.
Denver, Portland.
Denver, Portland. What else did we do?
San Diego.
Did you guys do some in Mexico too?
No, Mexico. We did no Mexico. The closest to Mexico was San Diego.
Oh, okay,
and then we did one in Bruges and one in Berlin as well. So it was good. It was a good festival run. And then going through the distribution. So we started getting offers and things like that. But again, a lot of people never seen something like this, in the sense that for people that was just like a regular movie, which we accomplished that, because that was our goal, to have a, just a general market movie that happened to have, people of color, in lead roles. So, getting the offers and just seeing how they were gonna distribute the movie, they didn't seem to understand that. And before I was a filmmaker, before USC, I was a graphic artist and a marketer. So, it was like, I thought we could do better if you did it ourselves, because we knew what we had in our hands in a way. So that's when I went to the investors and I told them, hey, why did we do it? And they were very supportive. So I learned the whole theatrical distribution business and the digital distribution business as well in the last couple of years. And we were supposed to go out in 200 screens prior to COVID, and then COVID happened. So then we had to pull that idea. But we're still gonna go out on digital, and then the opportunity came along to go into drive-ins. And so because I already had the whole plan ready for theatrical, I already had the one sheet, a lot of the trailers done. We decided to go to this. We've been in theaters for about 6 weeks now. We're in we're still in a few cities this weekend, but tomorrow we come out finally on VOD.
So you said a few distributors didn't understand what to do with the film. Can you just say a little more about that?
Well, so if you have a Latino project, like all this, like the big studios, they're all starting to have their like Latino division, like Lionsgate is Pantaleon, for example. So as soon as they hear Latino, they send you to that division. And then those divisions are used to having more stereotypical. First of all, a lot of them want the movie to be in Spanish, and others, they are used to more stereotypical content, right? So if it's not with cholos, or if it's not a cartel movie, if it's not something like that, they'll say that that they don't see it as a Latino movie. So that was a challenge. And then on the general market side, the movie, the big distributors where, for them it was just a general. We accomplished it. For them it was just like a horror movie, but it didn't have the star power that they wanted behind it to take it. And on the smaller to the medium to the smaller distributors, the kind of deals that we were getting, again, because I've been in marketing and I know how things work, I knew that a lot of the money that they were, going to spend, it was not going to be spent properly.
So in choosing to do it yourself, I guess tell me a bit about some of the strategies you had in mind for how you wanted to go about marketing it.
So at the beginning, marketing-wise, we were going to do it because, again, we didn't have a big budget for market either. So I just had to pull, like with this movie, like every single favor and do a lot of the things myself. So that was just, I needed a 4-month leeway for the theaters, because the theaters, you need to compete against more people. So I designed this huge standee, 100 inches by 80 inches with the Danny Trejo cut out. So I was going to place that in the theaters like 3 months prior to release, right? So people that frequent that theater would see Danny Trejo and they would want to take a selfie with him, right? So it's just like more guerrilla marketing techniques, and also social media and other marketing tools that actually we're using this weekend. It's a company that I partner with that we're providing this service now too, that they have AI technology to target the right people at the right time, outside of only social media.
Was that group you're working with, was that part of the decision to continue with the drive-in sort of strategy? Like, I think it's really interesting. So I interviewed Michael Starr a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Who similarly with his film had a similar issue of, it was supposed to be released right around COVID. And I think this is actually one of the more interesting questions right now, is sort of what happens with people's distribution strategies around this. Do they still try to salvage some kind of theatrical, or do they go straight to digital, and how does that affect things? I'm curious about that decision to invest in, since you had full control over it, sort of what went through your mind in calculating the financial aspects of bringing it into a drive-in?
So the drive-ins usually already have a built-in audience, first of all. Second, when we started the run too, there was not a lot of things to do. So the driving numbers were coming in pretty good if you looked at the ComScore numbers and did some research on the box office of the particular drive-ins. I mean, Box Office Mojo doesn't give you that information. You have to pay for it. You have to go in through ComScore and sign up for the membership and all that. But you start seeing the analysis of the revenue they're bringing in, and then it made sense. And again, because they already have a built-in audience, and there's not a lot of things to do because of COVID, especially in Southern California, there's a lot more strict. We saw that as an opportunity to do it.
Also, to add to that, I think one of the very important things that helped us make that decision was that the booker of the movie, Becky, was the one that actually was going to take this movie on. So we knew that she has a track record. She knows what she's doing. This is her expertise. And that's really important, just to make sure you have somebody that knows what they're doing, So our movie, yes, it's a hybrid movie in the sense that we were theatrical, but because of COVID, now we're VOD. But I will say that, as long as you're with the right people and they know what they're doing, then you can take a chance, like we did.
At the risk of boring our actors too much, I want to switch over and sort of talk about the production a little bit. So first, can you break down for me just sort of the logistics of production in terms of how long it was, how big of a crew, but then I kind of want to dive into with the actors, the different aspects of sort of the smaller, more detailed components of that set.
We did only 15 days. We did 13 days in the cabin. 1 day in a studio where we shot the driving stuff, and 1 day at Soledad. She couldn't make it tonight. She's Nana. Her house, we shot at her house, all the home stuff in that one location. So
6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah, 13. Yeah, the 13 days were the cabin were overnight. We didn't have the budget to shoot. Yeah, we didn't have the budget to shoot day for night, so we had to shoot overnight.
Wow. So for actors, how was that experience for you doing overnight shoots? Had you done anything like that before, of a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. sort of call?
Never.
It was cold.
It was cold. I was just gonna say it was freezing. Especially because when we did like our dying scenes, we had like fake blood splash on us with leaves, and we were in our tank tops and bras. It was freezing.
Mm-hmm.
This was February.
Yeah, February, Topanga Canyon. Like, even though it's LA, it's still cold, especially for someone like me that's from LA. Yeah. And like, Catherine had it the worst with the booty shorts and the tank top. I had the little I technically it's a sweater, or I don't know what that's called, but it was a little tiny top and this skirt. But I had my boots, and I was able to have my long socks underneath.
These poor ladies, man, they suffered the most, I think, out of all of us when it came to the.
You also had your shirt off a lot, Jordan, so you could.
You guys are forgetting though that we did buy you the those big jackets. What? Of
course. We had the warm you jackets. Well, you can't wear that when you're filming.
No, I know. And we did have heaters. However, I will say that the FSAs were super strict with us, and at many times they made us like turn them off. Yeah. So there was a point where I had to go and like rent an RV trailer for everybody, but the canyons in Topanga Canyon were too steep, so we couldn't get it in. And so yeah, everybody there, I just want to say thanks again, because I know it was freezing. It was freezing, and they have to act like it's so hot outside.
Why did you shoot in February? Was that just because of how the timing worked out with everyone's schedule?
Well, actually, it was supposed to be January because, again, if you want to shoot for a budget, usually January, actors are not as busy. Crews and grip equipment, are not that busy because you're just starting. So things don't start up until later in the month, or
like after Sundance pilot season.
Yeah. So you're able to get things more affordable, right? Because people rather make some money for their grip equipment than not money at all in a way. So you're able to get more help at a better cost, because again, our budget was like micro budget. So that's why. But then we had to push. The investment took time to come in, so we had to push until finally came in, and we're able to shoot in February.
Do you say any more about with the budget specifically? I know most people don't feel comfortable going too deep into the finances, but I would love to know just a little more about some of the strategies you used to stretch that budget, which I know is an art form unto itself.
No, I mean, just, people believing in the project, and, like these amazing actors, right? So we did the SAG, the contract with SAG, and, they were amazing, freezing their butt off and helping us out in any way, shape, and form. Then on the, I was able to make a lot of connections, when I was at USC, and I just got a lot of people. My stunt coordinator, Hugh, and he's also a co-producer. He's a professional. He's done, I was able to get the Panavision filmmaker grant. So we're able to shoot with the whole Alexa and the Panavision lenses, but it was all on the grant. So that was great because the movie looks good. So that's and then also just shooting in very little time.
And a lot of favors, a lot of favors, and everybody, wearing 3-4 hats. I was a casting director on this movie, not because I wanted to, but because, at SCA I learned how to do that. And it was one of those things where it's like, well, we don't have a budget for it. Asking favors from family and friends for locations. Like he said, Soledad lent us her house. And then also my son was everywhere in this movie. So all the B-roll, asking for favors from family, like, hey, we need you. Can you come, do some pickups or B-roll? So just a lot of favors.
And we all use our own cars. Like the car they're driving in the car that gets into the accident is Yelyna's. Then the car that of the lover is my car. Then the car that's chasing is the art director's car. So
baby.
The baby.
Yeah. Jordan's Gabe's baby was Yelyna's. So yeah, I mean it's but again, the cast was great. So, everybody brought on their A game.
Yelyna, can you tell me a bit about, this is your first time doing a casting director type role?
On a feature, yes. I mean, at USC, we had to do it all the time, but yes.
Right. So I want to hear from you, and then also from the cast themselves about sort of the process of how you found each other and how that chemistry sort of evolved from there.
Sure. So I have known Chelsea for, I want to say 10 years now, maybe. We did A Better Life, which is a movie that came out in 2011. It was nominated for an Academy Award for Damian Bichir's performance. And I played her mom on that. And so from there, I kind of was like, okay, I'm going to write roles for you. So when I was at SC, we had, 507, 508. So all of my shorts were starring Chelsea Rendon, because that was something that I'm like, you're going to be a star. I already know it. And I love her. So I made sure to put her in all my shorts. So I already had that rapport with her. So I wrote the role of Chelsea in this movie for her, which is why the role is called Chelsea. I had also written the role for Soledad, because I know Soledad as an actor. I've been working in the business for a while before I went to school at SC. And so I knew that Soledad is game. Whenever I asked her to do something, she's like, whatever you want. So I knew that we can have a lot of fun with this character if Soledad played it. So I wrote this for her because I've known her. I think she played my mom in a TV show in 1999, not to date myself, but that's how long I've been, doing this. So I knew her. I also knew Rolando Molina from A Better Life. I know José Julián, who also starred in A Better Life. So we already had that, that good rapport. Kirk Cáceres, who plays the lover, we did theater for, 10 years back in the day. We did Shakespeare in schools. So we already had built that rapport. So I already knew I'm going to write these roles for these characters. Then the role of Jule I had written for my son, because my son is actually an actor. But like Luis said, we had to push to February. So my son had to go back to school and I lost him. And that's when it was like, okay, it's time to cast. I had also written a role for Gabriel Chavarria, who I also know from A Better Life. I got really busy because once February opens up, it's all the TV shows, everything's shooting. So we lost him. But that opened up the door for casting, which is where we found the amazing Jordan Diambrini and Kade Wise. So I'm very happy about that. And then Chelsea, she was the associate producer. So she was there helping with casting, giving suggestions, and also for the chemistry reads. So she's the one that, recommended Catherine, who, from day one, I was like, she is the scream queen. Yes. So I already knew okay, we're gonna go with Catherine. And same thing with Jeanette Samano. She came in and she rocked it. She had so many callbacks. I don't remember how many, but it was one of those things where I was like, she's the lead. I've got to make sure she can pull all these levels in. And it was really just, about finding the right people, because I think that casting is 90% of it, because these are actors that are all phenomenal. And they really brought their A game. But I think Chelsea can tell you a little bit more about what the casting process was like, because
read. Yeah, she was reading with
it was really fun to be on this side of the camera for once, to be behind the scenes and helping with the casting process, and sitting with Yelyna and looking at the actors' access, submissions and stuff like that. And so I had known Kade and I had known Catherine, so I had mentioned it to them. And you know, as we were looking over these pictures and we see like Jordan's face, and by the way, Jordan, you got a fresh cut. I see you looking good. You know what I mean? And we saw these people and I was like, okay, yeah, let's bring these people in. Let's bring these people in. And then it's one of those things like you see something, like there's just something, you don't quite know what it is, but you're like, ooh, okay. Ooh. And then like you give a direction and like, they took notes very well. And like Jordan scared the crap out of us, I think. Out of everyone.
Yeah.
Yes, he was insane. And I remember Catherine, Yelyna was asking the girls to dance, and she was like, they're not giving me what I want them to twerk. So I remember I told Catherine, I forgot about this. I texted Catherine before she came in and I was like, girl, you better twerk. And you better shake your ass. And she came in there and she did it and she booked it. So it was like so funny. But yeah, it was just really cool to be behind the scenes. And again, to see a lot of talented people.
Also, the kid Max Chavarria, you had worked with him on the USC project because
he played my son. He played my child that died when I gave myself an abortion with a hanger in a public bathroom. Yes, Yelyna wrote that.
That was SC 508. That was my 508.
Yeah, and so he played my son in that, and he's Gabriel's nephew. So that's how he was involved, the kid. And so it was just, again, the Latinx community in Hollywood is small. Like we all know each other. We're all either like a degree away or 2 degrees away from someone. There's no 6 degrees like Kevin Bacon. It's like legit 1 or 2 degrees.
80% of them are here right now, right here on the screen. That's it.
You know, and so it was just really great to work with, again, people that I knew and then people that I got to meet, and everybody was just really great. So that was really fun.
I'd love to hear more from some of you about sort of that Latinx identity that comes with this. Because, you know, Louise touched on it earlier of there's the divisions of a lot of these smaller distribution groups have kind of pigeonholed the Latinx film into a certain model. And, you know, it sounds like, Chelsea, from what you're saying, that there's also an intimacy to the community itself and working together. So I'd love to just sort of elaborate more on, I think both sides of that. You know, it could be either, and I'm intentionally kind of leaving it broad because I want to let everyone chime in how they want to with this. One is sort of what you've encountered in terms of sort of the distribution or maybe in the casting process. Or the other could also just be sort of how this community works together.
I think I want to start off just and talk about, we're talking about film, but it's also an issue with TV. Like, if you think about just this week, United We Fall got canceled. That was a sitcom about a family. And it had a Latina wife and a white husband, and it got canceled. Baker and the Beauty, that had nothing to do with stereotypes, got canceled. Party of Five, which only had, like, I guess, the immigrant stereotype. But even then, it got canceled. My show Vida got canceled after 3 seasons. Ashley Garcia, which is talking about a Latina genius, got canceled. So I think that even in TV and in film, people are so used to seeing the bad guy or the cholo or, you know, that. So even the audience isn't so accepting and so ready to tune in. And I think that as a community, as just people, you know, no matter what race you are, we have to understand that we have to get rid of our notions that have been kind of pushed and instilled onto us and accept that we can watch brown people successful in a show and it works, you know, or we can see, you know, again, a Latina female genius at 16 working at NASA or whatever. And I think that is a big thing of us as an audience in general, watching and supporting, you know, and I think that is a big thing that we need to talk about and do better at in general.
Well said.
What do you think, Catherine?
I mean, that was amazingly put.
Yeah.
I don't really want to. Yeah, I don't have much. I'm gonna piggyback off of what she said, and I mean, I do want to say that, you know, I have seen a shift in the industry, and I feel like we have proven that we are the change that we want to see, like Yelyna and Luis and all of these people that are writing shows for us, you know, this is where it starts. I feel like the diversity needs to start in the writer's room. So
yeah, I mean, and also the financiers behind this project are also Latino on the movie side, on the distribution side. So again, is, you know, we're putting our efforts together, and we are, you know, we're saying what we're doing, like, you know, we're saying what we're preaching. We're acting what we're preaching. So
You're walking, you're talking the talk and walking the walk.
Yeah. He's exhausted. I haven't slept much for the last 7-8 weeks. But Kate, I know Kate has a lot of things to say about this.
Yeah, I found it very interesting to hear Chelsea just kind of list those shows that got canceled, because, I mean, you know, not to talk about the negative light of it, but it's just unfortunate that people are so stuck in a certain kind of social conditioning in terms of what they're used to seeing, that when new shows come out that contribute to more representation for underrepresented communities, it's just unfortunate that it's like, unless they do something that's completely out of this world, you know, controversial, I don't know, whatever the case may be. It's like, if you just try to like fit them into those shoes and give them just everyday all-American shows, it's unfortunate that people are not just willing to give something a shot to the point that it doesn't get canceled after a season or a couple, you know? But at least at the same time, at least that representation is being filled, you know, show after show. So that's just looking at it with the glass half full. And I know that after a while, maybe a few years, us as an audience in the United States will start to not only be more open to newer kind of projects out there, but we'd be demanding it, we'll be welcoming it, and so on. So I think we're headed in the right direction, though.
Yeah, I think it's also about being consistent as well, because the list that Chelsea just gave, it's like all these shows are being canceled, but it's also about us creating. And like my sister, she's a filmmaker, we're both Latina. And it's hard. It's hard when you're not spoon-fed, and you know what I mean? You got to do it all on your own. And a lot of the people in the industry either have had money in their pocket their whole lives, and that's what it is. And, you know, we have to create the change that we want to see. And that's just how it's done.
I'm going to have to completely agree with that. I truly feel that in this business and show business, it's literally what you make of it. It's the business of creation. You can create your future to whatever it is you want it to be, you know? So as far as like the content that's being put out there, it's like, if we're not satisfied or we're not happy, those are human beings that are, you know, green lighting those projects. Those are human beings that are writing those roles, whether they may be superficial or authentic as heck, you know? So regardless of all that, we are, as human beings, have to just step up and just slowly but surely earn that right to say, yeah, now I'm in a position to start putting out projects that we've been yearning to see, you know?
And I think it's really important to talk about the audience and how much they play a part, because you get these shows, but they don't put any marketing behind it. They don't put any promotion. They just say, okay, we're going to give you a show. Oh, you did one season, you didn't get good numbers, we're going to cancel you. But you're not putting all the promotion that you put on Grey's Anatomy, or, you know what I mean? Like, and so that's where we as the audience have to show up to show these networks and these studio executives that the content that we're putting out there is valuable to them. Because if it's not valuable, they're not going to give us their money. And that's why so many shows are getting canceled, because they're like, oh, you didn't get the numbers that we wanted. And so again, like, that's us as the audience showing up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sitcoms aren't my cup of tea, but I watch them just so that I could give them, you know, the numbers. And so I think that is a big thing of as an audience, because the audience shows up for the Marvel movies. The Latino audience, it's like 24% shows up for all the Marvel movies, but we don't show up for each other's content. Or it's like, oh, it doesn't tell my specific story. So I think that's really important. And again, like, it's like voting. Your vote matters. Even if it's just one, it matters. And it counts for viewership. Like, your vote, your viewership matters. And we have to support the content that we want to see more of. And, you know, like, and we also have to create superstars in our community, because we don't have any, realistically. You know what I mean? And the shows that I talked about don't have a Danny Trejo. Like, so many people are interested in this movie because of Danny Trejo, but they don't know who the rest of us are. even though we've been working, you know? And so we have to create those stars. And I really think there's going to be a shift next year when In the Heights comes out, because that's going to be our Crazy Rich Asians. That's going to be our Black Panther. And I'm really excited for that. But already in the last couple of years, I've been in this game for 21 years. And every like 5 years or so, there's a shift of like, oh, Latinos are doing this. And then it never like really continues. And this is the time where it's really been continuing. Like the last like 4 years has really been a push, like since Jane the Virgin. I think Jane the Virgin is the one that really started it, and it's been continuing. So again, we have to support and we have to watch, and again, even if it's not necessarily the best quality, we have to watch it, because then the studio's gonna greenlight another show with brown people. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's not your cup of tea, you got to support.
Yeah, you know, the good thing is not only are they doing In the Heights, Spielberg is also remaking West Side Story, regardless of how people feel about that. But at least they have West Side Story, and the cast is actually very well.
They actually cast brown people this time.
Yeah. So that'll kind of push the needle forward as well.
Yeah, and also, I mean, but again, going back to Chelsea's point, though, even though we have Danny Trejo, right? Yeah, Danny Trejo is huge for a lot of filmmakers, a lot of horror fans, and a lot of, for our community. But in the general market scheme of things, I still have to push hard, even with Danny, on the PR campaigns, on the marketing campaigns. Like in the PR campaigns, I mean, Danny Trejo is known a lot more than a lot of the actors that are actually getting more attention. If you go to any country, if you ask anybody, you know who Danny Trejo is? They're gonna say no. You know who Machete is? They'll be like, oh yeah, right? So or they're gonna be like, no, but you show him the picture and he's like, oh yeah. I've been traveling a lot because I'm doing some consulting, so a lot in Europe, so that happens. So, and even like we're competing with movies that have new talent from Netflix shows and things like that. But again, they're not as known as Danny Trejo, but still they get preference in the PR placement of the outlets and things like that. So that's another hurdle that I've been pushing really hard. We have a great PR team, but even with a great PR team, I mean, our team does huge movies, and because my relationship with them, they're doing it for very, very little. So you think, okay, so I got the PR team that did all these big movies, so now I'm going to be able to get some of that love. And no, they're still pushed back because we don't have big talent, right? They want big names. So it's
we don't got J-Lo and Brad Pitt.
Yeah, they want J-Lo and Brad Pitt,
as Chelsea and Gabe.
Yeah. Seriously, yeah. So it's challenging even with Danny Trejo, believe it or not.
I want to ask about that in a second, but I want to remind our audience, if you have questions, type it in the Q&A box, and then we'll switch over to you. Since no one has yet, I'll keep plowing with these two that I have since we're on the topic. But I want to remind you, you can just type it in there, and then we'll invite you to come in and ask a question. But Luis, since we're on the topic of Danny Trejo, how did that happen? What's the origin story there?
So what happened was Yelyna, so I had a domestic violence project that I wanted to do, and I met Yelyna, and I'm not a writer, so we met and we bonded, one of the few Latinos at the time there, and she had some friends that were domestic violence survivors, and so we shared that, and we started developing that project. That's when I met Chelsea. Chelsea acted we did proof of concept, like shorts about that script and scenes. And then, so I was pushing for money for that. And then the investors that I thought, they were like, okay, we don't have this much money, but what can you do with this? And I was like, I have a great horror script. And I didn't. So I called Yelyna. I'm like, hey, we have, got to do a horror script now. So then we literally got together at a coffee shop and literally, like, what are our resources? So I have this awesome cabin. I have all these props that I did for a 508. Yale was like, I got all these actors, I know this. And then when we were going through, through the story, and we, that character of Sheriff Lorenzo, we're like, it has to be Danny Trejo. It has to be. So we, from the get-go, that was our mission, was Danny Trejo no matter what. We didn't have a plan B. We didn't have anything. So one day Yale calls me. He's like, hey, I saw Danny's going to be at this event. So I went to the event and I met his assistant, Michael, and then he was very helpful. We shared our department knowledge and love. So he ended up actually doing our department work for us in the movie. And then, so then we finally, we're about to shoot the movie. So we send the offer to his agent, to Gloria. And then, so we're waiting to hear. And we haven't casted anybody because it had to be Danny Trejo. And then you can take it over with your Lola la Trailera story.
So you can't make this stuff up. So it was, I want to say it was like a Thursday or Friday night, something like that. And I had this dream. We were already shooting the movie and we needed Danny, like, I don't know, in 4 days or something like that, 4 or 5 days. And we still didn't have him. And I was like, nope, we said it's going to be Danny. It's going to be Danny. So we did not put a casting call or anything. We were like, I don't know how, but it's going to be Danny. So I had this dream that I elevator pitched him. And in my dream, he was like, when would you need me? And I was like, tomorrow. He was like, yeah, okay, I'm in. So I literally wake up. Like, it was like at 6 a.m., right? I just shot up and I called Luis. I'm like, oh my God, we got Danny. And he's like, we did? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh no, wait, my bad. That was just a dream. Because it felt so real. So anyway, long story short, all the actors were freezing. So I had to get that RV. We couldn't get it in. And it was like, okay, I'm the only person that could leave the set as a producer. So I was like, I'm going to take it back. And I drove all the way from Topanga to like Marina Del Rey. I was exhausted. I was with a crew member. This is after like 18 hours of shooting. And this was like 3 days before we need Danny, right? We still don't have him. And so I ended up like taking the trailer back, and then I went to go eat at this place in Venice. And then I'm getting in the car, and all of a sudden I like look over to this California pizza wrap place. And who do I see? Lo and behold, Danny Trejo in the flesh. I'm like, oh my God, it's Danny Trejo. And the crew guy I was with was like, that's not Danny Trejo. That's just a Mexican man. You're delirious. What are you talking about? And I'm like, no, I know Danny Trejo when I see Danny Trejo. So I literally go inside and I like beeline straight to the cashier. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to order here? Because he was sitting there eating, and you don't want to like talk to the lion while he's eating. You don't want to interrupt him. And he was with the girl. I didn't know who it was, but it was his daughter. So I'm waiting. And then I asked the crew guy, like, hey, what do you want to eat? And he was like, we just ate. But he said this like really loudly, and I was like, oh great, all right, there we go, like I'm about to kill you right now. I was just like improvising. So I'm like looking at the register, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy, I guess, a cookie and a soup, because that was the cheapest thing on the menu. So I buy the cookie and the soup. I'm waiting, and all of a sudden Danny gets up, he goes to the bathroom, he comes out, then everybody, I'm talking like 30 people surround him, and I'm like, oh great, there goes my opportunity, right? So they're taking pictures with him, and I'm like, okay, I had about, I don't know, 10 seconds and 20 feet to approach him before he left his place. So I get up and I elevator pitch him, just like I did in my dream. And he was like, when would you need me? And I'm like, Friday. And he's like, this Friday? And I was like, yeah, this Friday. And he was like, okay, I'll talk to my agent and get back to you. So we took our picture, and 3 hours later, we got the call from his agent saying that he was in. So when I tell you that dreams come true, yes, dreams do come true, literally.
Yeah, and then I got so I'm looking at my phone, I get a text message with a picture of Danny and Yel. I'm like, oh, we got him.
I told you we got him.
So that was funny.
That is literally the most miraculous casting story I've heard in my life.
Yeah, no, this movie is full of miracles, man. If I tell you everything that we went through on this movie for the last 5 years, almost 6 years, yeah, it's a miracle.
We've had a hand up for a while, so I want to allow this person to speak. This is Frank Balkan. I'm actually going to promote you to panelist, Frank, so you have the opportunity to ask your question directly. You're welcome to turn on your video if you want, or if you're more comfortable keeping it off, that's fine.
Hi. Hey, Luis.
Hey, Frank. How are you?
I enjoyed the film. I just had a story question, and maybe the two answers may be the same thing.
Okay.
What happened to the grandmother at the end, and what were the 2 shots at the end?
So you have to go to Lionsgate, Universal, Sony, one of those guys, and want them to find out, so they can give us a budget
For a sequel. Gotcha. Well done. I really enjoyed it.
That's whoever wants to know the answer has to give us $1 million so we can make the sequel.
All right. Darn. I'll be kept in suspense.
All right, thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
I want to know what he thought happened.
Oh yeah.
So if anyone else has something, you can ask it in the Q&A box, or you can raise your hand like Frank did. While we're waiting for any more, Chelsea, I loved what you said earlier of your views are basically your vote. I think that's such an amazing way of thinking about it. I'd love to hear more from any of you, really, but about how the shift in our entertainment landscape, how it's affected that. You know, it used to be your view would be your vote, but you only have so many stations, you know, so just tune in this night at 8 and you get your ratings and there you go. But now it's so dispersed between all these different platforms and audiences are naturally just smaller. So I'd love just any reflection you or anyone else has on sort of how that process, maybe the costs and the benefits of that, you know, has it allowed for more opportunities that are really generative, or has it actually made it harder to yield a real audience?
Well, I think just streaming in general, having so many different platforms is a blessing, because then there's 20,000 shows instead of just 4. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much content, but then also it's bad because the SAG contract just made it so that actors could get paid so much less if it's a 20-minute show instead of a 22-minute show. So 30, like half-hour sitcoms can just cut off 2 minutes and pay people drastically less. So that's a whole other thing with the SAG contract that just got approved. But I think, again, like, it's all about viewership. And then it's also important like, it's money. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has Netflix and everybody shares Netflix. You can pay an extra like $3 to share it to 4 screens, right? So everybody has that. And so now everybody is so lazy to do any effort to look at anything else, you know? And so, like, for me, my show was on Stars and our viewership was like 180, 160, I think. When like Power and Outlander had like 1 million point something, you know? And then so many Latinos specifically that I met in real life that were fans or friends of a friend were like, oh yeah, like I just bootlegged it. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. Like that doesn't help us. And, you know, everybody's been asking me like, oh, I'm so bummed that it got canceled. I'm so bummed. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but y'all are cheap. Like, you don't know how many times I heard I bootlegged it. I broke the Fire Stick and that's how I watched it. And so we have to look at it as putting your money where your mouth is. And that means watching Murder in the Woods this weekend so that we make good numbers and we make good money. You know what I mean? That means watching a show the day it airs, not waiting, oh, let me wait like 2 or 3 days so I can binge a couple episodes, like watching it the day it airs. And, you know, for Netflix, like the first week is the most important, I believe, for Netflix, you know, those numbers. And it's just, again, it's about worth. It's about the importance of, if you want to see yourself represented, then you have to watch stuff with people that look like you, period. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm also guilty. I'm in the middle of binging Grey's Anatomy right now because I've been kind of missing shows and I'm like, I don't know what I want to watch, but I don't want to get too stuck on something because I'm doing 2 things at the same time. But like the next show that I want to watch with Latinx representation is Love, Victor. That's been something that's on my list that I think I'm going to start Monday. But you know, we have to support and we have to do that. And again, it's great that there's so much, like there's so many shows or movies because there's so many platforms. But again, we have to be willing to pay the extra $5 or the extra $10. Like what I told people, I was like, yo, you could cancel Amazon for a month and you could binge on Stars and then go back to Amazon. Like, I'm not saying stay there all year, but you just need to do it for like a week or like a month. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just making the effort. People need to stop being lazy.
Yeah, and it's also about engaging with your audience on a consistent basis. Like I send everybody all my stuff all the time, like DM, like, hey guys, don't forget. And people need a reminder because people don't have reminders. You know, they're like, oh wait, when does your movie come out? So it's like you have to constantly be posting, constantly reminding them and making sure, like, just if people have those reminders, they're going to be like, oh, okay, when does your movie come out? Or, you know, but it's also, and speaking about that, Chelsea, is that like, I'll have people like, hey, send me a picture of like when you buy, you know, this DVD or when you buy my stuff. And like, people will actually do it. They'll send me pictures like, hey, I just bought your movie at Walmart. You know what I mean? So it's like they'll send you proof and then you get to like repost it, and just being consistent. You know, you are your own cheerleader, and I think we just got to keep pushing, and eventually, you know, the change will happen.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to do that in the sense that we're climbing. But Brad Pitt doesn't need to post shit, and people are still going to watch Brad Pitt movies. You know what I mean? And that's the difference between being an A-lister or whatever and then being an up-and-comer. Like, even again on Baker and the Beauty, Lisa Vidal has been she's been working forever, and she is so known and she's seen, but she's not considered an A-list actor. You know what I mean? Like, so we have to create our own stars, and again, it's promoting somebody else's work that, you know what I mean? Like, everybody thought I was unhentified because I was always talking about it. And I'm like, no, those are my friends, and I'm supporting brown talent, you know? Like, so, yeah, definitely I engage as much as I can, and we have to do that where we are, you know what I mean? And hopefully one day we can do that without the pressure of having to do it, but just wanting to do it.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is like the new box office, especially now in COVID, is the VOD. You know, a lot of movies get it released tomorrow, so it's the same thing. Which one goes to each platform's top 10? So that matters a lot, because that's what gives you the visibility and the push on the public relations side, and the that you need when you don't have millions of dollars. I have a friend that works for a company. I'm not gonna say which company. That markets for for a lot of movies, and their budget just for this one company for a movie was $2.3 million just for this one little thing that they do, right? So it was, it's crazy what you're competing against. And the thing is, like, all these entertainment companies now own each other, right? So Comcast owns Universal, so all the Universal content is being pushed by Comcast, right? So it's like, it's just literally just money switching pockets. Literally, that's all it is.
Even though, to me, in my opinion, because it seems like there is a lot more content that's being created. However, because the US versus Paramount was dismantled, I feel like there is that big possibility that it's just going to go back to the conglomerate studio system. Yeah. That's what it seems like. And so what happens to the independent filmmaker at that point? I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm hoping that's not the case, but that's what it's looking like. I actually worked for a company, I don't want to say the name, but this was in 1999, that had that vision of streaming. This is in 1999. So I was a series regular and a staff writer on a show. These were 7-minute increment shows. So they've had this plan for a very long time. And like what Chelsea was saying about that contract, I saw that contract back in 1989, and we were like, no way are we going to get paid this. So the studios will always do fine no matter what. They're making their money. At the same time, it's like, everybody else, we just like someone mentioned earlier, it's like, you have to pay to play. You have to have that money. And when it comes to marketing, I mean, we don't have the $13 million budget, but we have everybody that's attending right now, and you guys all have social media, and that is more powerful than anything, because just by sharing and liking and telling people about it, reviews, that helps us.
Reviews are very important. Give us reviews, please. Go to IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, all those guys, Metacritic, Google, whatever platform you decide to buy the movie on. If you decide to buy it and support, just give us, because that's what aggregators look at. That's what the algorithms look at. So it's if people want to keep seeing this type of content, they have to support it.
Can I ask, what's the official hashtag of the movie?
Murder in the Woods.
Do we have one or no?
Yeah, Murder in the Woods.
Just Murder in the Woods.
Yeah, Murder in the Woods or Shorty's MITW movie. Those are the only two. Yes.
Matt, you're muted.
Yeah, I always forget that I mute myself. So I think you actually just answered this, but I want to let Michael have a chance to ask this directly, since I do think it's an important question. It's kind of worth saying again for everyone.
Yeah.
So Michael, I'm inviting you up to the panel. You're welcome to turn on your camera or ask however you'd like.
Mute it.
You have to unmute yourself, Michael.
Michael?
He might have left us. Oh.
There.
Hi.
I'm Michael's sister. My name is Jane. I didn't watch the film, but I was kind of listening to all of this, and I think it's amazing what you guys are doing. And I was just telling Michael, well, Michael's actually a first-year college student at Long Beach, and he's also interested in film and horror stories. He loves it, and we were just talking about like, what if people don't have the necessary means to, you know, watch movies? But I think that we got our answer, you know? I mean, don't be cheap, just do other platforms to support.
And again, I'm also not saying if you can't feed yourself, don't buy this damn movie. You know what I mean? Like, you feed yourself, you pay your rent. I'm talking about the people that have Amazon and Hulu and HBO and are buying pumpkin spice lattes every day before they go to work. And they're like, oh, I can't afford, I already have 4 of them. You just gotta not buy a latte one day this week, and you paid for the month.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna.
But no, wait, Michael, am I mistaken? Were you on a Q&A with me a couple weeks ago?
I don't.
No.
No.
Okay, sorry. You look familiar, and it was somebody that went to Long Beach. That and so never mind. Ignore me.
Yeah, but I mean, Chelsea's also right. I mean, if you don't buy a latte for a day, you can rent this movie. I mean, this movie is gonna be renting. It's gonna be out tomorrow for rental. Is gonna be $4.99 and in HD and $3.99 SD, and then to buy is $9.99 either way. So I mean, again, if you literally just don't buy one cup of Starbucks, you can watch this movie.
I made this myself, just letting you guys know I didn't buy it. So just throwing it out there.
Is that so you can buy the movie tomorrow?
Yes. You got me.
That's right. Absolutely. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh. I think I just accidentally kicked him out of the whole thing. It's okay. We're wrapping anyways. The other thing that you did say in your answer that I think is important is promoting on social media and doing all those other things that sort of spread the word. So I want to reiterate that for our guests as well. Be sure to tell people about the film. Be sure to let people know where it's playing, where they can find it, share the links, do all of those other things to get the word out there. But I appreciate having the chance to talk with all of you tonight. This has been really great. This has been a really generative and important conversation and a really fun film. So I'm glad we could all be here.
Thank you, Matt, for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah, and
you.
again, murderinthewoodsmovie.com. All the information is going to be there tomorrow. I mean, right now you can go and you'll see the pre-buy buttons and all our social media links. But tomorrow is going to be updated with every single outlet. That we're going to be in all major ones. Amazon.
So do you have a list that you could just kind of run off real quick?
So we're going to be, the cable boxes, Comcast, Spectrum on In Demand. So Cox, there's like 20 little companies around the country. So it's all cable boxes on demand. And then we're going to be in, Fandango, Vudu, Amazon, Kaleidoscope, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Microsoft, Xbox. And I think that's all of them. So.
Hell yeah.
Well, thanks again, everyone. I have one more hand raised. All right, Kayla, I'm going to let you get the last word, and then we're going to wrap up, okay? Just because I want to let all of our audience members participate as much as they can. So we'll just get one more in there. Kaylin, you have the floor.
Hello.
Hello.
Either.
You gotta unmute yourself and allow video. Or just unmute yourself.
No?
Kaylin.
Do you have to allow her, do you have to ask her to add video or something?
No, sometimes, well, she did raise a hand, so I assume she was there. Okay, well, going once. Going twice.
Caitlin!
Maybe we can hear.
Klutchnik?
Yeah, we're out of time anyways. Sorry, Caitlin. We'll have to get you next time. So again, thanks to you guys for being here.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Alex.
Take care of yourselves, and look forward to talking again.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.
Hasta
very much, man.
luego.
Hasta luego. Bye. Gracias.